Yo, Math 10 students, how are we today? All right, we're continuing on in our financial mathematics book. We are on chapter 3, wages and salary, and we're going to be on page 38. I'm going to start off today by going over a couple of quick definitions. The first one, overtime. All right, that is payment for work done in addition to your regular hours. Let's say your regular hours each week are 40, and your company says anything over 40 hours you get paid overtime. So anything over that 40, you're going to get extra pay. Typically, overtime is at the amount of 1.5% of your regular pay, but that's not always the case. All right, we'll talk more about that. Shift premium is the next one. So in addition to the payment made for working, you get a little bit extra, an additional payment made for working in undesirable conditions or shifts. So example would be a night shift. So if you worked somewhere, sometimes it's harder to get people to work certain times of the day. Most of us would like to sleep at night. So maybe you get an extra $2 an hour if you work the night shift, and that's enough for some people to do that. Okay, so on page 38, I'll have you go through example 2 yourself. Look through Sarah, who works in a nursing home. What a nice name. And then I'm going to go over now for you the Your Turn section, okay? So in the Your Turn section, it says, Jake operates heavy equipment on Nova Scotia, woo, little shout out to Nova Scotia, highways. He earns $20.50 per hour. He receives time and a half overtime pay for working more than 40 hours in 1 week. Okay, so every hour he works more than 40, he gets time and a half. This week, Jake worked 44 hours. What is his gross pay for this week? Remember from our last session, gross pay is the amount of pay you get before your deductions are taken off, okay? So let's look at that. He worked 44 hours, okay, total. And very quickly, we already know that it's 40, we'll call it regular hours, okay? And everything over that 40 is considered overtime. So what is 44 minus 40? 4. Okay, so 4, I'm just going to say OT. A lot of times people use OT for overtime. All right, so his regular hours, we know he was paid $20.50, okay? And we know his overtime, he's paid the $20.50, but he gets that overtime pay, which was time and a half. So a quick way to calculate time and a half is multiplying by 1.5, okay? If you wanted to do some estimating or mental math yourself as well, you can take this number, divide it in half, and add that half on. So for example, in this one, if I wanted to do this in my head, 2050 divided in half is 1025. So I could add 1025 to 2050, and I'd get 3075. So his time and a half rate would be 3075. Now, let's multiply these out. You can use your calculator to do this. 40 times the 2050, I got $820. Okay. Now, with multiplication, it doesn't matter. You don't have to actually figure that out. Like I said, the 3075. You can just multiply 4 times this, you get the same thing, okay? So when I multiply those 3 things, I get $123. Okay, and now we just need to add those up. All right, so Jake's total is $953 for that 44 hours that he worked. Okay, so again, take your regular pay, multiply it by your regular rate, take your overtime hours, multiply that by your overtime pay. And again, if you had wanted to, you could have said also 4 times the 3075, and you would get the same answer, okay? All right, so that is part A. Let's go on and do B. B says, last week Jake worked 40 hours, which included 1 overnight shift of 10 hours. All right, he was paid a shift premium of $2 per hour for this shift. What was his gross pay this week, or the last week? So remember, that doesn't mean he was paid $2 an hour, right? It's the shift premium, so you add that onto your regular pay. So let's look at that. So we worked 40 hours, and 1 included a shift of 10 hours overnight. So it was 40 hours total, and we know that they told us 10, okay, I'll just put premium, whatever, and the other 30 were regular. Okay, so we know his regular rate was $20.50, and we know that his premium rate, it told us, included an extra $2. So if his regular is $20.50, what's his premium? You'd add the $2, $22.50. Okay, so let's add those up now. 10 times $22.50 is $225, and 30 times this is $615. Let's add those up. All right, so Jake made $840 on that shift, okay? Yeah, there's other ways you could come to get that answer, but that's just one way that I did it. You could have also looked at your last answer where you found out what he earned for 40 hours, and you could have added, like, I guess it'd be 2 times 10, 20 to that, and that would also get you the right answer, okay? So different ways, but don't worry about it as long as you know how to get there. All right, now let's turn the page in our books, and I'm going to go over a few questions with you, and then I'll assign some. So this is on page 40 now. We're on page 40 in our books, and let's go over question 1A. 1A says, determine time and a half rate for each of the following. So I'll just do one of them with you, and then you can try another one. So for 1A, it says 1050. Okay, and remember, I told you that if you want to find time and a half, you can multiply by 1.5, okay? Or the quick way, if you want to do it in your head as well, is find out what half of this is, split it in half, and add it on. So I can quickly notice that half of 1050 is 525. I'd add that on, 1575. Or I could have taken my calculator and I could have said 1050 times 1.5. Oh, what a surprise, 1575, okay? Sometimes I like to just keep my brain working well without using my calculator and understand that where my number's coming from. Okay, so that's the answer for A, 1A. All right, let's go ahead and do 2A. 2A, it says, calculate the double time rate for each of the following hourly wages. Double time is nice, because what that means is you get double the pay. So for 2A, it is, the regular was $11 per hour, and if it's double time, pretty easy, you multiply it by 2, $22, okay, would be the rate, okay? Let's look at 3. I think we'll do 3. Yeah, let's do 3A together. Joseph works in maintenance. If he works more than 40 hours a week, he receives time and a half for the extra hours. His hourly wage is $14.60. Calculate his gross weekly pay for each week. So we'll do A together, and then you can try one of the other ones. So it says in 3A, he worked for 42 hours total. Okay, so if we look at that, 42, we know that 40 of those are regular, right? And 2 of them are overtime. We know his regular rate of pay, they told us, was $14.60. Okay, and remember to find time and a half. You multiply by 1.5, or you can take half, add it on. Okay, so we'll do these and then add them up. So I got 40 times 5, 84. And the other, I got 4380. Okay, you're going to add those up, and 627.80. As you know, you should always be checking your answers at the back of the book to make sure you're on the right track. But there's 3A for you if you're wondering how to do the math on that. Okay, the next one we will go over is number 7. Let's jump down to number 7. Number 7 says, a worker on an offshore oil rig earns $35 per hour. Shifts are 12 hours in length and include 8 regular hours and 4 overtime hours. Time and a half is earned for overtime hours. Okay, so they get time and a half for overtime. When they do a shift of 12 hours, they get 8 of those hours are regular and the other 4 are overtime. That's pretty good. So they're not even going by the week, they're just going by the shift. So let's look at that. The first one says, calculate the gross monthly pay for a worker who works 12 shifts this month. Okay, great. So why don't we work out one shift first, okay? So this is number 7. All right, so one shift, we'll start with that. We know one shift is 12 hours, and they told us that 8 of those are regular time, and 4 of those are overtime. All right, and the regular time was $35 an hour, and the overtime was time and a half. Okay. So if we multiply those out, you get $280, you get $210, and then you add those up, $490. Okay, so for one shift, he's making $490. Okay, that sounds good. Pretty, if you look at this, kind of interesting. Yeah, for 8 hours, getting this, for 4, getting this, you can see it's like, oh, not that different, right? So that overtime really does add up. All right, now let's go to, we know they told us there were 12 shifts that month, so we know 1. So let's multiply those out. There were 12 shifts, and each shift works the same way. So we get $5,880. This is his gross pay, so no taxes taken off yet. All right, for B it says, if the worker is paid semi-monthly, what is the value of each pay? What does semi-monthly mean? Twice a month, right? So it would be on the 15th, typically in the last day of the month, okay? So in that case, we know that that was his 1 month, right? That was what he worked, and he's paid twice a month, so really all you do is take that monthly pay, divide it in 2, and you get $2,940. So each of his pay on the 15th and the last day of the month would be, well, it wouldn't be this but this is his gross pay, all right? Okay, so that's number 7. Any questions, let me know. Now I'm going to assign a couple for you to try. You do not have to pass these in. Okay, and these are on page 40. And like always, try a couple till you know what you're doing. I'm going to have you look at number 1, and I did a few of these for you, but just want to make sure you're on the right track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you want to do 6, 6 optional. Okay, as always, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you're enjoying this math. It's kind of a nice lighter change from what we've been doing. So have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.